March 4th, 2021. The U.S. Capitol Police said Wednesday that they have information regarding a possible plot by a militant group to breach the Capitol on Thursday, a date that some followers of QAnon extremist ideology falsely claim will mark former President Donald Trump's return to the White House. In response, the House canceled the scheduled Thursday session, instead wrapping up planned votes late Wednesday. Members and staff were encouraged to take precautions such as parking in underground garages.
Our elected leaders were targeted in the violent siege of the Capitol just 2 months ago. And more broadly, Americans are increasingly polarized, and the institutions that exist to help us manage our differences so our democracy can continue to function are under strain.
Myanmar security forces killed at least 34 protesters in a recent clash. That is the highest daily death toll since the February 1st takeover, exceeding the 18 that the UN Human Rights Office said were killed Sunday and could galvanize the international community. Demonstrators have regularly flooded the streets of cities across the country since the military seized power and ousted the elected government of leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Their numbers have remained high even as security forces have repeatedly fired tear gas, rubber bullets, and live rounds to disperse the crowds and arrested protesters en masse. Iran intentionally polluted the Mediterranean Sea and Israel's shores in an act of ecological terrorism, causing the greatest environmental disaster in Israel's history, said the Environmental Protection Ministry. Following a 2-week investigation, the Environmental Protection Ministry found that the ship that leaked the crude oil, called the Emerald, was owned by a Libyan company and sailed from Iran to Syria. The ship remained within tens of kilometers of Israel's shores within Israel's economic waters for nearly a full day, spilling large amounts of oil on February 1st and 2nd. The 13 people killed in a vehicle crash in Southern California on Tuesday had been smuggled into the U.S. through a hole in a border fence shortly before the crash, U.S. Customs and Border Protection said Wednesday. The migrants, at least 10 of whom were from Mexico, were part of a group of about 44 people driven in a pair of SUVs through a hole in the fence about 30 miles from the crash scene in California. Border Patrol agents weren't pursuing the SUV when it crashed. Agents used recordings from a border camera to determine when and how the vehicle crossed the border. Voting was interrupted for about 3 hours Tuesday when a pipe bomb was found outside an Iowa polling location. A couple walking their dog found the device just before 9:30 a.m. outside Lakeside Center, a multi-purpose building in Ankeny that was being used for voting purposes. Voters and poll workers were forced to evacuate the building, and a bomb squad from the state fire marshal's office was called to the scene. Authorities lifted the evacuation order and voting resumed after the device was safely detonated.
Was it related to an election? We have nothing that says that. So we just want to kind of work through this and make sure, how long was that there? Why was it there? There's a bunch of different variables that go into it. So we don't want anyone to jump to any conclusions, our big thing. And if somebody sees something, to say something.
Governor Andrew Cuomo broke his silence Wednesday about the harassment investigation engulfing his administration. In an emotional press conference, he apologized repeatedly. Cuomo told reporters he will not resign, but will fully cooperate with Attorney General Letitia James' investigation.
And frankly, I am embarrassed by it. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. And I'm going to learn from it. Marcia asked me about, my usual custom is to kiss and to hug and make that gesture. I understand that sensitivities have changed and behavior has changed. And I get it, and I'm going to learn from it.